Who's scruffy looking?
What is up, my fellow nerds and gangsters? Welcome back to Spiffy Nerd Hooder. Today we're going to take a step back and talk a little bit about Star Wars in general and the direction that possibly the saga should go regarding the Jedi. After the original trilogy finished its release in 1983, the books took the saga into a bunch of different directions and introduced a lot of new things, one of which was Luke and Mara Jade's marriage, and they had children. But when the prequel trilogy came out, it introduced a new idea, that the Jedi couldn't marry.
Are you allowed to love? Thought that was forbidden for a Jedi.
This was new to a lot of fans, yet ended up having a great payoff with Padme and Anakin's secret marriage and how it eventually led him to turn to the dark side. But the Rule of Celibacy also raised questions about Mara Jade. George Lucas even went as far as saying that he didn't consider Luke and Mara Jade's marriage even a real thing. And of course we know from the sequel trilogy that the Jedi still don't seem to be able to marry. There is no Mara Jade, at least that we know of. Luke appears to be single, and I'm sure that Leia's decision not to become a Jedi was in part due to the fact that she wanted to marry Han.
I just assumed it's a Wookiee.
I can arrange that.
But what does this mean for Rey, the last of the Jedi? There have been more than a few momentitos when Rey and Finn got a little bit cozy, and who can forget about Poe and Rey's first meeting?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Poe.
Right.
Sparks were flying. So now that Rey is the last of the Jedi, will she rescind the Rule of Celibacy and allow the Jedi to marry? Can she even do that?
How could you even say that?
Well, to know that, we need to know, how did the Rule of Celibacy even begin? And we learn this from Kanan Jarrus in the book A New Dawn, where he says, the Jedi Order was more than an unpaid police force, more than just an exercise club that was into metaphysics. It was a way of life based on the Jedi Code, and a lot of rules for living that weren't in the code that had been tacked on later. One was that the Jedi avoided becoming involved in romantic relationships. Once on the run, Kanan Jarrus had found that rule pretty easy to forget about. So the Jedi haven't always had this rule. It was something that was introduced later. And we know that Kanan definitely ignored it when he had a child with Hera. But what about Rey? I think that if the Star Wars canon wants to reset this Rule of Celibacy for the Jedi, now is the time to do it. But should they do it? That's a harder question.
Careful you must be.
Let's analyze the pros and cons. The pros are that with relationships, there are more chances of drama as characters are put in danger, there are kidnappings, love triangles, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. The biggest example of how relationships cause drama is in superhero movies. One of the key subplots of The Dark Knight, for instance, was the love triangle between Rachel, Dent, and Bruce. Of course, this drama was compounded by the fact that Bruce's identity was secret, so the idea of secret relationships certainly adds its own twist to drama and forming it. The cons could be that there is a lot of truth in the idea that the Jedi could actually be weaker if they are allowed to form relationships. I mean, where would their loyalties be? To their families? To the Order? To others? Luke seemingly had a problem with this aspect of the Jedi when he was talking to Rey in this deleted scene from The Last Jedi, where he bemoaned the Jedi's lack of attachment and how it made them morally weak.
Do you know what a true Jedi Knight would do right now? Nothing.
Another potential con is that it could take away a key element of who the Jedi are. It could also negate Anakin's fall by essentially saying, you know, if he were born just 30 years later, he could have married Padme, everyone would have been fine with it, and the whole turn to the dark side, Empire, Sith thing, yeah, that never would have happened.
It's not true. That's impossible.
But also, if this rule didn't exist, Anakin would have been able to be open about his relationship with Padme. He would have been able to go to the Jedi for help when he received the Force visions about her dying, instead of feeling a need to go to Palpatine. And all of the problems would have been avoided. But maybe that's a topic for a whole other video.
That's a very, very good one.
Overall, I'm not sure if the Jedi should be allowed to marry again. What do you guys think? Should Rey allow the Jedi to marry? Are there any other rules of the
dogmatic, narrow view of the Jedi
that Rey should change?
And I need help.
Let's seriously consider this question, because if there's anything that should be changed from the Jedi Order, now is probably the time to do it within the Star Wars timeline.
Yeah, about that.
Hit like if you like the video. If this is an interesting question for you, please subscribe and share the channel if you haven't done so already. But guys, I love making these videos. Thank you so much for watching. It's sweet to see that at least 5 of you watch these videos. But until the next video, guys, stay spiffy and don't do anything I wouldn't do twice.